You know what, I can time it off of this.
Okay.
It's fine, you may go.
Okay. You all know how my family and I go to visit my grandparents in Ohio, and while we're there, we sometimes go riding. My speech has to deal with one of those times. Last summer, I was especially excited to go to Ohio, not only to see my grandparents, but also because my best friend Caitlin was coming with us for the first time, and we were going to take her riding. But when we eventually went riding, everything changed for the worse. The first thing that really bothered me was when we got there, the place looked a wreck. It was dirty, it was messy. Just a few months earlier, we had gone there, and it was really nice. But also, the horses were thin. They, even those that had great weight a few months ago were now thin. There was one in particular that was really thin. My dad talked to the man who owned the place, and the man replied saying that sometimes they get horses like that are thin because people rescue them and then bring them to them, and sometimes they just can't put the weight back on them. But that kind of helped me get over that. But the next thing I found out that was these horses were, after they were saddled, we held them until they were ready to be ridden, but they just attacked the grass. You could tell that they were really hungry and stuff, but then I found out after that they hadn't been in their pasture for like 2 weeks to let the grass grow. So they had been feeding on hay and they weren't, able to eat the grass. So that helped me with that, but then what really got to me was the horse I was riding. I had ridden her the last time we went, and she was great, except she was a bit stubborn. She had just had a baby, so she wanted to stay by that baby. And every time I got to the entrance of the pasture, she'd always want to go that way and go right where her baby was. But that was the only problem then with her. But this time when I rode her, she totally freaked. She flipped out. I was with another horse holding it, and my friend, because we were waiting to be given a horse to ride, and so she was over there waiting for our horses, and I was with another horse. And I didn't know this until later, because if I did know right away, I would have said, "Can I have a different horse, please?" But the horse, when he seen the saddle come out, she totally flipped. She reared. She started doing, crazy things. But they finally got the saddle on her. And then I came back, not knowing any of this had happened, and they gave me the horse. I got on her, and I tried to get her back out to the field, but she didn't budge. She dug her hose, thank you, into the ground, and she would not move. The lady came over, and she's like, "What's wrong? Why aren't you in the field?" I'm like, "I can't move her." So she got a lead rope, and she hooked onto the bridle, and she led us out there. Then, while we were going between this narrow passage to get to the field, I was sitting there just doing everything I'm supposed to. She's leading me, and all of a sudden the horse bolts. I bend backward in the saddle, and the lady almost gets trampled. And then she turns around and says, "What did you do?" I'm like, "I didn't do anything." So, and it kind of hurt me because she didn't say it in a mean way, but she didn't say it in a kind way either. So I kind of felt bad that she thought I did something. But then she finally did let the horse go. So then we got in the pasture, and I see my mom on the right side, so I turned that way. And then my mom went back that way, and so I turned my horse to go that way too. But she wouldn't listen. She had one mindset. She wanted to go straight, and she didn't want to do anything else. So I'm like, okay, this is fine. So I just kept going, and then we got to this dirt path, a few feet in front of us. I'm like, oh no, she's going to go to the next door neighbor's property. So I tried to turn her, but she would not listen. She started flipping her head and jogging sideways. And then it didn't help that an angry llama came by. Now they have a llama because they keep it in the pasture with the horses. It protects them. And this llama was doing his job. He came to the end of his fence, and he laid back his ears and starts hissing and spitting at me. I'm like, oh Lord, why did this happen? But I started just praying out loud, like anything that came to my mind. I'm like, Father God, get me off this horse, help me get out of here. Because I had all these thoughts going through my head, because I had seen videos and read about things where people have gotten tumbled by horses, like they start jogging sideways and then they fall down. crushed the rider, and some people get thrown. And I had recently gotten a back injury, fractured my back, in sleigh riding, so that worried me too. I thought something's going to happen to my back, and all these thoughts. Satan was having a field day with me. I mean, every possibility, it went through my head. So I just started praying anything that came into my mind, and I started praying in tongues, and I just didn't stop. And finally, and it didn't help the horse was going toward the llama either. So she was kind of walking forward and sideways at the same time, going nearer and nearer to the llama. But finally, I don't know why, but she stopped. She just started eating the grass. And I'm like, okay, this is my exit, I'm going. So I got off that horse so fast, and I just stood there bawling because I was so terrified. And my cousin Billy comes up, he's like, Jessica, are you okay? Jess. I'm like, Billy, stay away from here, stay away from here. This horse is going to see you and she's going to run. And oh my gosh, it wasn't funny at all. The horse heard Billy, seen him, she took one look at him, and she hightailed it out of there. She went straight. But then my cousin started running after her to get her for me, because I was just, I was so terrified I couldn't move. She turned right though and headed toward the highway. And then I started yelling for my mom and dad, saying, the horse is running, Billy's trying to get him. And my dad's like, what? And he starts running, he jumps on the horse, he tries to get it to go, but the horse is like, I don't want to go anywhere, I want to walk. I mean, so she didn't move, she just, plowed her way, and Dad jumped off the horse, like, Jessica, take the horse. I grabbed the bridle, and it didn't help that her foot got caught in the reins either, because they were extremely long. So I'm standing there struggling with her hoof and her getting it untangled, and so my dad starts running after them, and then I finally get back to where everybody is, because the horses are so hungry, they were eating this. There's this one area where there's like trees and lots of tall grass, so they were all surrounding there eating. They're like, Jessica, what happened? So I tell the story over again, and then they're like, we're all waiting to see what happened to the horse and stuff. Billy and my dad finally come back, and then they tell their story, and the horse got in the street. It was dodging past all these cars, and my cousin finally got close enough to the horse where he grabbed its neck, and he was being dragged along with the horse. And then all the cars are stopping, and they're like, what's wrong with you guys? Keep your horses on the road and stuff. And then this one lady jumped out, and she tried to help my cousin. Finally got the horse, and they brought him back. And then they put the horse away. But I was so terrified, you couldn't imagine. But then when I thought of what could have really happened to that horse, I felt so bad. So bad that I acted the way I did, that I didn't use my brain, that I totally forgot what the Lord has told me through His Word, saying that I'll always be with you, that I haven't given you more than you can handle. So I didn't remember anything. But now, if that ever happens again, I know what I can do in a situation like that, and I can learn from my mistakes. And at first I was terrified of getting back on a horse. My mom and dad were trying to get me to go on this older horse there, and I'm like, no, I don't want to, and it just wants the awful horses. But they finally got me on, and then I got off the horse after, and I'm like, I can't do this to you, you're so old and stuff like that, and she's so skinny. So I got off the horse, and then I walked back to where everyone was, and then Mom got off the horse, and she's like, here, ride Franny. I'm like, no way. Franny is a horse. My uncle and my dad were on, and she was bucking them. I'm like, no way am I going on that horse. But they got her under control, but it was because they had owned that horse at a previous time. Then they sold it, then they somehow got it back, and then I guess it was afraid of large objects. It was, ruined, basically. My dad and my uncle basically got her out of the habit in the short time that we were there. So I went on her, but I was crying the entire time I was on the horse. And I'm like, Mom, she's coming out, because, I wasn't even thinking straight. She was just nodding her head up and down, and I was just going crazy. But I did get over from my fear, and if we ever do go riding again, I won't be afraid, because I know that the Lord's with me always, and that He'll protect me through everything. And, in fact, I can't wait. Dan?
What I'm sad to tell you guys about is the time my family and I went to Williamsburg, Virginia. About 2 to 3 years ago, my father bought us passes to go for like a year in the past into Williamsburg. It was in June when we went. Since it was a while ago, I forgot everything about the ride except how cramped and long it was. But it was all worth it. We stayed at the Ramada Inn that was not very far from Williamsburg. There we had Ingram Pool, which felt good after all the walking we did. They also had a buffet in the arcade. What I enjoyed most about Williamsburg was how they brought us through tours. And they actually explained to us what the different rooms were used for. And here's the picture of the governor's mansion, which I really enjoyed the most. I don't know if you guys can see it up there. And it was so hot when we were because it was in June. And my sister Shannon, it was really good that there was a store you could buy fans at because it was really hot. So we were all borrowing it. It was also fun to watch a mock trial where they redid all events in the courtroom. And here's a picture of where they did that. They also had really nice gardens, and they were really pretty. They had lakes with it. And one nice thing about it was the workers were dressed up and acted like the people from back then. And while we were there, we went to Jamestown, which is, we got to go on the boats that they made to look like back then, and showed how they slept in there and how everything looked back then. We got to go through the Indian tents and see their bedding and the food they ate and how they lived in the tents and all their arrows. And we also got to go through some of the forts. There's cannons in there. We also learned how they made canoes. They burned and then they carved out the canoes. Just took a picture of Stevie in it. And I just think it was really fun. It's kind of short.
It's okay.